Yo, so Yunli's official light cone reveal happened last night. I know I'm a little bit late to this, but it is what it is. So we're going to be going over this light cone. We're also going to be going over other light cones in the game that we could potentially be using on her. And we're also going to be going over like a TLDR toward the end of the video about whether it's worth pulling for this light cone or not, whether you need it or not. And if you're like maining her or whatever, whether it has enough value for you to justify pulling for this light cone. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. We do have the multipliers and everything here, which is exactly what we're looking for. We'll go over that in just a sec. I just wanted to point out first, here's the art. And look at how cute this is. Look at how cute this is. Look at this cute little cat. And this other cute little cat. And it's like, just all cute and this is like cute and stuff. But I also need to point out, dude, I don't know what it is about Hoyoverse, but every time they're running out of good art designs for light cones, they just put cats everywhere, dude. like Topaz, for example. Does she even like cats or dogs? Like in this light cone, she looks like that, she does. But like in the lore of the game, does she even like cats or dogs? Like please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about this. Like, but does she even? I don't know. I just think that this was just the, hey, we don't know what to do for the light cone art. I have a brilliant idea, Johnson. Put some cats in that shit. Like straight up, like, I don't know. I just think it's funny. Anyways, let's move on to what's important here. It greatly increases the odds that the wearer will be attacked. People are going to glance over that and not realize how important that is. Yunli is a counter-based follow-up attack character. Most of her damage comes from her counter follow-up attacks. She won't get those counter follow-up attacks if she's not hit. So this essentially raises her taunt value. She gets, you know, and she also has abilities that literally put out an AoE taunt, but this is static. This is always there, no matter what. There are no conditions. So this is something that I think people are gonna like just glance over and not realize how important that is. Her having an increased chance of getting hit is very, very important for her kit. Anyways, let's move on past that. It also increases the wearer's crit damage by 36%, and after the wearer uses their ultimate, they receive 1 stack of Fire Dance, lasting for 2 turns, and up to 2 stacks. Each stack of Fire Dance increases the damage dealt by the wearer's follow-up attack by 36%. So obviously, that's 72% with both stacks, and you have the static 36% crit damage, which is nice. This first sentence is so beautiful, and even this last ability here, even if you don't have both stacks, that's still a substantial amount of damage. This is actually a really, really solid cone, and clearly this is going to be an incredibly strong cone for not just Yunli, but also for Clara as well. So Clara just got a huge power spike with this particular light cone. I guess we'll skip down for just a second. We'll take a look at the other light cones. We have the moles welcome you, which is honestly not super great. Like you'll see when we take a look at these other light cones, that the moles welcome you is not exactly like a super duper great option for Yunli. Let's take a look at the other light cones on the banner, just so in case you guys are curious. Perfect Timing, which is sort of the 4-star version of Locha's light cone, which is a healer light cone. And then an erudition light cone here, which is kind of like the 4-star for Herta here. And you know what I mean? It's all right. Cool. Let's move on. That's the stuff that's on the banner. Let's talk about Jingliu's light cone, because this is actually something that could work for Yunli. It's not obviously her best option, but it does work. So let's go ahead and go over it. It increases the wearer's crit damage. Oh, hold on. Oh, no. It increases the wearer's crit damage by 20%. When an ally, including the wearer, gets attacked or loses HP, the wearer gains 1 stack of Eclipse, up to a max of 3 stacks. Each stack of Eclipse increases the damage of the wearer's next attack by 14%. When 3 stacks are reached, additionally enables that the attack to, gosh, Jesus Christ. It's all about the words and things, guys. When 3 stacks are reached, it additionally enables that attack to ignore 12% of the enemy's defense. This effect will be removed after the wearer uses an attack. So this is not exactly the best light cone for Yunli, because the reason why it works so well on Jingliu is because not only does when an ally or her gets attacked, like, she also drains the team of enemies whenever she does attacks during, like, certain parts of her kit, right? So you're going to trigger these stacks far more often with Jingliu than you are someone like Yunli. And you're not necessarily, even if you raise your taunt value with Yunli, you're not necessarily getting your allies attacked more often. You're just making it that she's more likely to get attacked. You see what I'm saying? So it's not exactly the best option for Yunli, but if you wanted to use it on her because you have it, it is an option. Now let's move on to On the Fall of an Aeon. This is what a lot of people are going to be using because this is the Herta Shop light cone that everybody can take easily to S5 given enough effort and time. It gives, when the wearer's attacks, whenever the wearer attacks, their attack is increased by 16% in this battle. This effect can stack up to 4 times. After a character inflicts weakness break on an enemy, the wearer's damage increases by 24% for 2 turns. So obviously, you want to use this in a situation where she can get the weakness break, but considering the meta has been getting, harder and harder, and things like that, you usually put characters into your teams for certain scenarios where they can get a weakness break off, especially with the meta right now being very heavily based around break effect, right? So definitely a very, very good cone. And it says whenever the wearer attacks, so this includes your follow-up attack. So she's going to build max capacity on this light cone very, very fast. In my Clara build guide that I put out a while back that, did pretty darn well and put Clara on the map, I guess you could say, for some people. Like, I was talking about this light cone on her instead of using Clara's signature light cone. This will literally give you more damage than Clara's signature light cone. You pretty much would use Clara's signature light cone if you felt like you needed more survivability. But this is actually better than Clara's light cone on Clara, for example. This also means it could work well on Yunli if you have no other options and it's available to everybody. So, very solid option. The moles welcome you. We'll just go over this one briefly because it's not one of her greatest, but when the wearer uses a basic attack skill or ultimate to attack enemies, the wearer gains 1 stack of mischievous. Each stack increases the wearer's attack by 24%. So, no crit value on this. You don't necessarily need crit value for the light cone to be good, like On the Fall of an Aeon's good even without that. But you're not exactly getting a ton of these stacks, and it's not exactly super, oh my god, amazing. Now, it doesn't look like the stacks really run out here, but it's just not quite as good of a cone as some of the other options that she has. But it is a 4-star option in case you wanted to go that route. A secret vow, we'll go over it briefly, but again, this might have a bit of an issue with someone like Yunli, and we'll explain why. It increases the damage dealt by the wearer by 40%. The wearer also deals an extra 40% of damage to enemies whose current HP percentage is equal to or higher than the wearer's current HP percentage. So the thing about Yunli is, although she's going to be getting attacked a bunch, whenever she uses her skill, she actually heals herself. So that's a bit of a problem, because there are going to be moments where you miss out on the entire second half of this light cone's effect because she fucking heals herself, right? That's gonna be a bit of a problem. There's gonna be some moments where it does work, and there's gonna be other moments where it does not. And so this just seems like it's gonna be too inconsistent for Yunli specifically. If she didn't have that heal with her skill, this would be a lot better of a cone for her. So just keep that in mind. There might be moments where it's good, but generally I would probably avoid it because it's just a bit, it's a bit inconsistent. Now, Under the Blue Sky increases the wearer's attack by 32% when the wearer defeats an enemy. The wearer's crit rate increases by 24% for 3 turns. This is a bit of a stat stick for people that lack a bit of crit rate. So this could be a very, very solid cone for Yunli if you were lacking crit rate, for example. But as you notice, I took this all the way to S5 for you to see some pretty good stats on the cone. If it's only at S1, it's not that great of a cone. And this is a gacha cone, unfortunately, so you're at the mercy of luck and having played the game a long time and gotten this to S5. If you don't have it at S5, it's a bit low, right? It's not a super great cone. It's not one of your best options. It's not as good as On the Fall of an Aeon unless you get this thing to higher superimpositions. So keep that in mind. Now let's move on to another cone here that we could use. Woof woof walk time. This thing is just not that great, is it? Right? This thing's like okay, but it really doesn't have the juice necessarily. It increases the wearer's attack by 20%, increases their damage to enemies inflicted with burn or bleed by 32%. This also applies to DOT. So you can break the enemy weakness and get a bleed proc on the enemy with this light cone. It can work, but it's just not that great. I would highly suggest anyone that doesn't have like some amazing 5-star option to probably just use On the Fall of an Aeon because everybody can use it. Flames Afar, we're not really going to go into this that much because it just doesn't really work on her kit, right? This is like clearly made for Firefly, and it just doesn't work the same way as it would for Yunli as it would for Firefly, unfortunately, right? This is a bit of a break effect cone. This isn't necessarily what you'd want to use for her either, unless you're building a break Yunli. If you're building a break Yunli, then this is a really, really good cone. But I think most people are going to build a crit Yunli instead. Now let's take a look at some other 5-star options that we have here for characters or players that have had this game for a while. This is Blade's Cone. Blade's Cone is a really, really good option. It increases the wearer's crit rate by... Oh, wait, whoops. Keep it down at S1. It increases the wearer's crit rate by 18% and increases their max HP by 18%. That's going to be pretty good on Yunli. When the wearer is attacked or consumes their own HP, their damage increases by 24%. This effect is removed after the wearer uses an attack. So, unfortunately, the second half of this doesn't go off as often as you would want. It's not as good on Yunli as it is on Blade. She will be hit a lot. She will get this procced, but Yunli's able to act several different times outside of her turn. As long as she gets hit during certain modes, she will release a follow-up attack. And unfortunately, this falls off of her when she does perform an attack. So there's going to be a lot of times when the second half of this light cone just isn't really doing anything. The first half is static, so it's always there. But this second half is where this light cone really gets to pop off a lot. So it is a good option, but it's not necessarily her best. And obviously, Dan Hung and Bibiter Lune's light cone, this thing wants you to basic attack. She does not want to basic attack, so we're just going to move on. Firefly's cone, same thing. It's a break effect cone. Doesn't really do a whole lot for Yunli. But let's go ahead and take a look at Nowhere to Run. This is the last 4-star cone. It increases the wearer's attack by 24%. Let's take a look at this at S5. It increases the wearer's attack by 48%. Whenever the wearer defeats an enemy, they restore HP equal to 24% of their attack. So this pretty much is just an attack stat, right? Because Yunli can heal herself, right? Like, unless you're building some zero sustain like team, you're not gonna really want to use this cone. Like, you could use something like this if you're running a zero sustain team where Yunli needs to not die and she's gonna have high taunt value. She's gonna get hit a lot, but I don't know if Yunli has the juice to actually run zero sustain. We'll just have to see. You know, it's still like day 1, right? And I'm sure people are gonna figure it out, but I have a feeling that if you're gonna be running zero sustain, you actually do probably want to run Clara's cone, because let's take a look at it. It increases the wearer's attack by 24%. When the wearer defeats an enemy or is hit, it immediately restores HP equal to 8% of the wearer's attack. At the same time, the wearer's damage is increased by 24% until the end of their next turn. This effect cannot stack and can only trigger 1 time per turn. So this is a pretty solid cone for like a zero sustain team for Yunli, but as you can see, this just doesn't hit as hard as Yunli's signature does for her. And because she has a skill that can heal her itself, it doesn't feel like it's needed for most players, because most players are not running zero sustain teams. I mention it because it is important to mention, and so that people are aware of it, but that's not relatable. That's not what most people do. I think a lot of players, in fact, I think most players who don't have her light cone, her signature, are probably going to end up running on the Fall of an Aeon, because everybody can get this. So it's kind of like a low investment. It's a very solid free-to-play option. Definitely a very good light cone. So it's finally time to go over whether it's worth pulling this light cone or not. And there is a big problem with this light cone, okay? And it should be blatantly obvious. Yunli and Clara are the only characters that can even truly benefit from this light cone. This light cone is way, way, way too niche, right? Think about it, right? Do any of these other characters need taunt value? No. Do any of these other characters need, like, an increased amount of damage to their follow-up attack? No. They don't even have a goddamn follow-up attack, okay? So this light cone is pretty much only going to be used on Yunli and Clara. Now, don't get me wrong, bro. If Yunli is your main, you think she's cute or whatever, you think these cats are cute, you know what I'm saying? You think that she's cute and stuff, and these cats are cute, and you like her, she's your main or whatever. Don't let me stop you, okay? Don't let anybody stop you. If you're a whale, whatever, you got it like that, go for it. Because think about it for a second here. Greatly increases the odds that the wearer will be attacked, and you have follow-up attack buffs. Do any of these other cones provide higher taunt value? Not a single one does. right? Do any of them provide more damage to your follow-up attacks? No, not a single one does. So Clara and Yunli are super duper stoked that this light cone has come out, because this is instantly their best in slot cone, and it isn't even close, dude. This thing's knocking everybody else down. This is instantly the best cone for both of those characters, but it's only really, really good for those characters, and it doesn't do like practically anything for anybody else. It'll basically just be a 36% crit damage buff to a character if it's not Yunli or Clara. So keep that in mind, right? Anyways, if this video was helpful or whatever, like, I don't know, maybe leave a like and subscribe or some shit. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.